Okay, this is going to be a brief walkthrough of this tractor for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. This is a 1978 GT18 hydro drive, which originally had an 18 horsepower 2-cylinder Onan. It now has a 16 horsepower 3-cylinder Yanmar out of a John Deere 330. There's a lot of work. There's a whole thread on Tractor Forum and videos documenting all this, but I'll just keep it quick. We stretched the frame 4 inches, basically gutted the whole front section. So we had to plasma most of that out. Same with the bottom. You can see where we had to bring the frame out here to accept the motor mounts. So the whole front of the frame's pretty custom. For the drivetrain, we've got a Sunstrand hydrostatic out of an Aaron's garden tractor. It uses the same Sunstrand pump as what the John Deere originally had, and it uses the same Dana GT 120 axle as what the Sears originally had. So the axle basically bolted in. These bolts here on the side are what's holding the transmission from moving up and down. The transmission is shaft driven, so I had a custom drive shaft made for that. You can see these 2 ports here. It's power everything. So underneath the wiring down in there is the power steering box, which receives power from the tranny. Over here is the steering cylinder out of a John Deere 318 going to a John Deere front axle. So the box receives power from the tranny. The box then has a power beyond or an auxiliary port, which provides pressure to this single spool lift valve, which is off the Aaron's. So this has, up and then down, and then all the way forward is float, that detent position. And if we follow the hoses back, here we have a Sears electric 3-point hitch that has been converted to hydraulics. It is currently halfway done. Still got to figure out how we're going to have the piston actually move the hitch, but that's what we're going with. The rear axle does have dual brakes, not hooked up currently. You can see where we had to cut the whole top section of the transmission cover, or the frame rather, to put the transmission in. It's got auto meter gauges, oil pressure, water temperature, and since there was no transmission temperature available for this series, we went with oil temperature and a regular analog hour meter. Got rid of the crappy factory one. Throttle works the way it's supposed to. Instead of choke, we've got the pull to stop cable because being a diesel, it doesn't have a ability to shut off with a key. You actually have to manually cut fuel to the injection pump. The power lift switch is now the lift pump, or I'm sorry, the glow plugs. The red light is the low oil pressure light. The light switch here is lights. I have LED headlights for it as well that have to be installed. Then a regular ignition switch. Radiator out of a John Deere, and then a Hayden transmission cooler, sorry I can't talk, is being used as the hydraulic oil cooler. So the return from the power steering and the return from the lift valve, they tee in together down here, and that's the input to the cooler, and then the output to the cooler is the return to the transmission. Let's see what else. It's got a heavy-duty Donaldson air filter element from a Kubota. Custom exhaust that we made up. That's really it. I don't know, I guess some of you guys haven't seen this yet, but this is it. For tires, 26 by 12 by 12 Firestone 23 degree flotation ag tires. Those are on 10-inch wide or 9.5-inch wide John Deere wheels. Blasted, primed and painted. The fronts are 16 650 by 8 Vredestein V61s. In hindsight, I kind of wish I'd gone with an 18 just because 16s and 26s, there's kind of a big difference in size there visually. However, it does sit basically dead nuts level with the 16s, so I didn't you know, if the tires were any taller in the front, it'd probably have a little rake to it. So this has been an ongoing project for about 1.5 years. It's almost done. We just got to put the body parts back on it. So that's really it. You guys will see a bunch more pictures of this, but I have an update that I'm going to be putting on my YouTube channel tonight, which goes a little bit more in depth in terms of what I did specifically, but this is just a kind of once over if you haven't seen it yet.